Peas on Moss is brought to you by Kimberly Schaub, a culinary scientist turned business developer. Over the past 4 years, the audience has downloaded episodes over 40,000 times, and we have 1,500 impressions across the website and a host of social media platforms. Will you consider contributing to the show to help keep it on air? Donations through Patreon help to offset the cost of web hosting, editing, and producing the various Peas on Moss offerings, from podcast episodes to videos, and every little bit helps. From corporate advertisement to sponsored content and private contributions. Reach out to me on peasonmoss.com for details. Welcome to the Peas on Moss podcast, a podcast focused on the food industry from the experiences of a research chef. I'm your host, Kimberly Schaub, and I am excited to bring you today's special episode, a deep dive into the upcoming Institute of Food Technologists' upcoming annual conference, IFT First. It is taking place in Chicago on July 11th to the 13th, and registration is open now. This is the first conference back in person, and it's going to be different. The staff of the IFT First team joined me on the podcast to share all of the programming that is in place and how some of the content and concepts were redesigned after feedback from past attendees. As an active IFT member and faithful conference attendee for a few of my key favorite shows, including this one, I was really fascinated to hear about all of the changes planned. I'm really excited for this year's conference, so let's just jump right into the conversation.
I'm Mandy Zaransky-Hurst, Senior Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Business Development for IFT.
And then Corrine.
Hey, I'm Corrine Calise. I'm the Senior Director of Knowledge and Learning Experiences at IFT.
And Melody.
Hi, I'm Melody Anderson, Director of Meeting and Exhibit Experiences here at IFT.
Great. Well, welcome to the Peas on Moss podcast. I'm really excited to have you all meet the IFT First team and have them come on and share about the coming national conference. So I think I'll start with you, Mandy. How would you describe IFT conference and as an annual event? And give us a highlight on what you're expecting for 2022.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. So IFT, Institute of Food Technologists, has been around since the 1930s, always focused on a mission of providing community and connection for those in the science of food. We've certainly evolved over the years, but our main mission has continued. This year, we're bringing back our annual conference. This is the first time in 2 years that we've been in person, and we're so excited. It's certainly evolved. So IFT First is the brand name of our conference, and FIRST stands for Food Improved by Research, Science, and Technology. Over the years, we've grown to offer programming at the annual conference that brings together everyone from ingredient producers to manufacturers, trend trackers, innovators, scientists, research and development folks, and investors. I imagine many of the science of food professionals listening and the research chefs would love the show. It's all about ways to help them connect, learn, and innovate. There will be several amazing keynotes, including a debate, an astronaut, and an innovation lab. We'll have over 18,000 people, over 700 companies in the expo, and a real focus on innovation and sustaining the food supply. I don't want to spoil it by giving away too many details. My colleagues, Melody and Corrine, that are on this podcast with me, will share more of the good information that really digs into the agenda and tells you about how we've transformed this event to be more innovative than ever before, and also more engaging and focused on people connecting. If those listening want to check out the details for themselves, they can go to iftevent.org. But I'll turn it back over to you, Kimberly.
So, what is different about this year in addition to coming back to in-person content? Corrine, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us on, Kimberly. So in terms of programming, we've got a really exciting guiding theme that focuses on the potential for cutting edge food technologies to address global challenges, such as, say, climate change, as well as, big issues like international conflict. So the theme this year is hacking the food supply. Can we synthesize a more sustainable future? So to kick off the event, we are hosting a debate that will be broadcast through National Public Radio. And the motion of the debate is, should we eat more processed food? And that is obviously a very engaging topic, and it should be a really lively conversation with lots of audience interaction. And as Mandy mentioned a minute ago, we're also really excited to host an all-NASA panel featuring astronaut Scott Parazynski. And that panel is going to address research and development at the edges of the human experience. And then toward the end of the event, in terms of keynotes, we're going to bring the program back to Earth and the potential for our audience to innovate toward a better future with a hands-on interactive innovation lab. The innovation lab is going to be led by Yvette Cordy, author of the book Cultivating Curiosity. And Yvette's going to walk participants through how to leverage your most valuable problem to find creative, out-of-the-box solutions. And, research chefs and food and beverage product developers, they have an imperative to always be innovating. And I really think that this program is going to bring inspiration and practical, tactical mechanisms for kind of staying on the cutting edge of the science and bringing it into creative applications.
That's really cool, Corinne. Thank you so much. Melody, I'd like to invite you into the conversation. What do you think? What's different about this year for you?
Thank you, Kimberly. So one of the things that I really want to talk about is the fact that this year's meeting is hybrid. So we will have both an in-person as well as an online audience. We will live stream our keynote and our featured sessions. The really cool thing is that both audiences will be able to interact with each other. There will be exclusive content available for our online audience. We're going to be live streaming not only for the keynote and featured sessions, but also from our anchor desk that's new this year. Think of it as a news desk, as well as Business First, and I'll talk a little bit about that later from the expo floor. And of course, as Mandy mentioned earlier, this is the first time we've been back in person in a couple of years, and the best way to experience the expo is in person. Taste and smell. Sampling, of course, is very popular, and that's back this year. Also, I wanted to mention that attendees will have more intentional networking opportunities this year. We are very excited about this opportunity called Brain Dates. It allows participants, both online and in person, the opportunity to connect with attendees that have similar interests, and they can discuss a problem or a challenge they are having. Destination IFT is this area that we are really buzzed about. It's an IFT-focused area. There are a lot of exciting components to Destination IFT. There's a reimagined cooking up science with a host, which I think would be of interest. And there is Business First, which is industry focus. It's presented by Food Technology Magazine. And of course, we have a new fireside chat area. We have so many new things that will be of interest to attendees this year.
Wow, that sounds like so much. And so what lessons did you learn about IFT members, education and programming, and really the conference expectations from the pandemic? Again, like you all have said, this is the first one back in person after a number of years being apart. But the educational content offered at IFT throughout the different regional chapters has been really top notch. So what I'm hearing is some really exciting content and new kind of intentional programming and themes. Or how many of those were kind of direct lessons drawn from the pandemic?
Yeah, Kimberly, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I really appreciate you calling out IFT's high quality content. And it's true, IFT's content is superior among shows in the food space, but really it's the people and relationships that make our event special, I think. We've analyzed our user data and have responded by making the content much more consumable and much more engaging. We're learning that people don't want to sit in a room for 90 minutes and be lectured to. So we've completely transformed our educational program, bringing in new formats. Melody mentioned the fireside chats, which are a one-to-one interview format. And we have a program that we're calling multi-session conversations, where presenters whose talks are related to one another come together to discuss the intersections of their work and then open the entire session up to facilitated conversation with the audience. It's what folks in the education space call the flipped classroom. And we really expect that it will help people connect around ideas that matter to them.
I also wanted to mention that the scientific research will be on full display in our poster session, which is prominently featured on the expo floor. And also going back to that destination IFT area that I mentioned earlier, we have a startup pavilion that's going to be back bigger than ever, and it will feature a pitch session on Wednesday.
Wow. So it sounds like you have content really offered across the board. You have academic research, you have established IFT members and businesses, and then you've got startups space as well for companies who've maybe emerged in the more recent couple of years to get to know both the professional organization as well as have space for them to get to share their research.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, we really are excited about the ways in which we can connect those dots between the fundamental and applied sciences, and coming together in order to grow your business or to grow your career or to get inspired and get excited. And we think that the program has been built really intentionally in order to bring those pieces together.
So building kind of on that, because I have found IFT annual conferences to be really well done and very big events, like kind of the place to be seen and to see the customers or suppliers that we're working with. And having been an annual event, it sounds like you've addressed, potential challenges in keeping it fresh every year. And then again, this being such a big one, being our first one back in person. Can you kind of describe some of those challenges of keeping conference fresh every year? And, it sounds like you've led with a lot of branding, a lot of intentional themes. Did those kind of come together in addition to kind of taking the inverted classroom sort of idea? Where did that start?
Yes, it's really interesting. So in the last couple of years, one of the new things that we've been doing is to reach out to our audience and ask them directly, what questions do you have that you think that IFT's program should be addressing? And we put out this call for questions. We actually call it our question-a-thon. And the last year, we gathered over 1,000 questions from our attendees. And then what we did was we clustered them. We sort of did a heat map, clustered them and grouped them down into 5 categories, with each one with 5 guiding questions. So we have 25 guiding questions that we used in the call for proposals to create a sort of shape or architecture for the program. So the 5 clusters that we're working with are novel technology and innovation, sustainability and climate, health and nutrition, food safety, and consumer insights and education. And what's interesting is that the guiding questions, which are the questions that are important to our users, that form this architecture, if you will, of the scientific program. So if you were to look at our directory, you'd see these fabulous questions, and then listed below them are the scientific responses. It's almost like a call and response. So the responses or perspectives, you might say, that the community will be coming together to discuss and provide potential answers to the questions. So also, as Melody mentioned, new this year, we're keeping our poster program up for the full 3 days of the event. And we've created a brand new research showcase stage where the winners of our poster competitions will do public presentations of the work and highlight the connections between the fundamental and applied science. And then to kind of really give some oomph to that poster area, we're planning a big happy hour social event right in among all the posters, which is a great way to bring traffic to emerging research in the field and to help people kind of, mingle and chit chat. And again, I keep coming back to this, connect the dots between the pieces of the program so that, you can kind of look at a poster, meet a person who's in that field right there, while you're sipping a glass of wine, and start to put together your plan for which sessions you want to see. So all of that is our attempt to keep things fresh and to really be thoughtful about how we're shaping that experience for our users.
Well, you clearly know our audience quite well, because you're absolutely right. I mean, driving traffic to the areas where, we're kind of sometimes torn when we go to conferences between going to the social networking events and getting to take time to read posters or attend, other sessions that might all be at the same time. So it's a great idea to move the location of a networking event to the poster session so we can kind of do both. You clearly know your audience well. Taking 1,000 questions and answers and distilling it into 5 major questions has got to be so much work. So I'm kind of curious about the work that goes behind the conference planning and all of the people who get involved. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We, of course, have a lot of volunteers that work to make IFT First a great event that it is. We rely on volunteers pre-meeting as well as on-site. We have a lot of volunteers that will help us in all aspects of the meeting, including the IFT Central booth, the scientific sessions, technical tours, greeters. We certainly value our volunteers. They assist us, and they also will be able to, fully enjoy and participate in the meeting as well.
Yeah, and volunteers, as Melody said, we have about between 700 and 800 volunteers who come together to bring this program to life. It's really a labor of love, and it's really a community effort. And I think that, when I said it's all about the people, it's really true. I think one of the things that seems to me to be sort of magical about IFT is that there's this sense of relationship that occurs among our membership and certainly at our event. And we really try to help people find each other, meet new people, make sort of critical connections that are going to be meaningful for them. And you can't do that if you don't have, staff can't do that by themselves. It takes the attendees themselves, and it takes the volunteers to make that come to life.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right that, the experience in our careers and in our professional associations are really informed and shaped by the people that we're around. And I, personally have so much gratitude in my own career for the relationships I've built from IFT. So I'm really excited to hear the intentionality behind the conference. I wanted to double click on a couple of things. I was jotting notes furiously earlier. Getting to hear Melody share about some of the specific programming that's offered, and a lot of it sounds very new. And I had referenced, you're taking 1,000 questions and distilling it down to 5 guiding topics. I'm curious about how, again, if you don't mind refreshing our memory on that, and then how did you weave those throughout the week-long program?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it's what we did was when we took the 1,000 questions and we clustered them, I actually went the opposite direction. So we got 25 questions and then sort of took a step back to figure out, how do those cluster down further? So what you really see is that, the food industry, there's these we're really at a moment of new opportunity. And, every crisis, right, brings new opportunities. And so I think COVID and supply chain difficulties and sustainability, challenges have brought opportunities for R&D to do some really sort of big changes and think about new ingredients and new technologies and get bold. So one of the things that I'm really excited about, for example, in the area of sustainability, we're kind of highlighting, if you will, some of those cutting edge ingredient technologies. For example, whether it's cellular agriculture or precision fermentation. So, for example, with foods that are currently made in bioreactors. And by the way, I just read an article today about a new company that's looking to develop a specific tool to do this rather than using the kind of bioreactor that you would have normally brewed beer in, for example. But you can use yeast to produce proteins or lipids or enzymes. So actual real casein, for example, can be synthesized so that you can have significantly more milk protein without the cow, and therefore without the emissions, the methane, and without the water, and without the land mass that's needed, and without the years and years of growing the cow in order to make, say, for example, mozzarella cheese or meats. So we recognize that when we talk about the debate, should we eat more processed food? We know that that's a hot topic and that there's a lot of anxiety around that topic. And especially for people in the food industry, because, a lot of consumers, if you were to say, don't you want to eat food that was made in a bioreactor? Consumers are going to be like, my goodness gracious, no, I do not. But the truth of the matter is, if we can bring a more nuanced conversation about the benefits, whether they're health benefits, whether they're environmental benefits, whether they're economic benefits, resilience benefits, right? There's so many different kinds of benefits. If we can break out of the anxiety and get into a more sort of thoughtful dialogue, what we're going for, what I think I'm really proud of IFT doing this year is we are taking a bold move to host a national dialogue and to do it in a way that's smart and informed and balanced, not trying to twist anybody's arm. There's no ideology in place. Just, hey, there's some really cool science that's bringing sort of groundbreaking opportunities to life, and we want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you are inviting that conversation. I'm so smart to kind of start at the big public view of it, and really what do we understand about sustainability? What do we understand about the intersection between how food technology is part of the future and how we need to understand where that responsibility and opportunity lie for those of us in it. And so I really appreciate that. I'm in a sustainability program right now, and there is this tendency to say, well, just support your farmers market. And it's like, well, but that comes fraught with a lot of challenges and assumptions that could be made. And so I'm really glad that you're taking that head on. I think this is exactly the place that I would look to IFT for leadership and engagement in that conversation, right? Because this is where we are as food scientists and professionals in this in this industry. And it makes sense for us to talk about it with science, with data, with understanding where our profession is and what we can do to participate and lead in food sustainability in the future.
And we're so excited about this program, Kimberly. There's really a huge opportunity to bring together so many people from so many different disciplines in an effort to really collectively move the science of food further along, to create sustainability, to help really produce a food supply that will be around for a long time. What's interesting about our program is that we're offering ways to think about sustainability from so many different angles. So there are all of the scientific pieces around sustainability, certainly the sustainability track, the novel technology track, the trends track that is happening as well. And then, of course, the two other tracks that I'm really excited about are the nutrition track. And then, Corrine, what's the last track that I'm forgetting?
Safety.
The safety track. Yes, so important. But then the flip side of that is we have this business stage. And so we'll be talking about things like supply chain and food waste, which are also key pieces of the puzzle when we think about the future. So we could have brilliance on one side of the equation, but if we don't really come together in all parts of what is the future of food, then we're not going to be as effective as we could be. And that's what makes me so excited to be part of IFT and this event. There's a place for everybody to really connect, learn, and innovate, as we like to say this event will offer.
Yeah, and no matter how great the science is, if consumers are, skeptical or wary, it won't get anywhere. So the other thing that we're really intentionally doing is bringing experts from different fields to talk about consumer perceptions and to also look at research that's been done in human ecology, in psychology, in science communication, to talk about the ways that this profession can try to get ahead of and sort of get on the leading edge of helping to inform consumers in a way that empowers them to make choices that aren't, based on sort of reductive logic.
And I think when you couple that with the expo experience, which is poised to be so awesome, 700 plus expo booths where there will be some trend companies there really helping those who are attending see what some of the growing trends are. But most of the expo booths will either be manufacturing or ingredients or incredible innovation. And so there's this chance to taste, to touch, to smell, and to really sample. And so when you couple that with us bringing back that, cooking up science, where chefs will be using these incredible new or ongoing ingredients and then sampling from that, it's just great. There's so many different ways that people can spend July 11th through the 13th, either in person or online.
So how should an individual start to plan their July 11th to the 13th days? There's so much going on. It sounds like one person couldn't do it all. Say if I have a team of scientists going from my group, what would you recommend for planning our approach? Say we've got a research chef and a couple of product developers, maybe our purchasing directors going. So taking that pretend team of folks, what would you recommend for setting up our schedules for conference?
I would say you want to start with the IFT first advanced program and expo planner. That's on our website at iftevent.org. There's a lot of great information there about the scientific program as well as the expo. You can even save sessions you want to go to. You can save and favor your favorite exhibitors. So I would definitely start there.
Though, Kimberly, you said something really important, and I want to call it out. You said there's so much that you could never get to it all. And in fact, our user data, our survey from previous meetings said the same thing. And so we actually intentionally made it so that you actually probably could do everything. There used to be 100 sessions that were being that were running simultaneously in like 12 rooms at once. Now, with these multi-session conversations, and all of the scientific program is pre-recorded. Plus, in addition to that, every one of our speakers has recorded a 1-minute summary of their talk, so that if you wanted to, you could power listen to the entire program in less than 2 hours, and you could do that even before you got there, and decide which of these, whether it's just by looking at the program, like Melody said, go to the planner and kind of browse through, but you could also preview to see which conversations. So in those multi-session conversations, you've got around 5 of the pre-recorded sessions that are going to come to life at the event, not so that they can, like I said, not just lecture at you, but have an engaged conversation. So frankly, you are down from 100 to only 25. And really, you could consume in any given, set of time slots, 25 sessions very, very easily. And in the past, you would have probably only been able to get to, 5 or 6. So we've made it much, much, much more consumable.
Kimberly, I think to tag on to what Melody and Corinne said, if you're going to bring a team, and I absolutely recommend bringing a team because there are so many different ways in which people could attack this event and attack in a really positive way. So if you're looking to have your buyers deployed, you would want them first to start with the expo floor. Whereas your R&D folks, they could start with the expo floor or the scientific program. Your marketing and sales team, they're certainly going to want to be in the expo floor, but also the business side of the show. And when I think about your innovation team, they're really going to want to be everywhere. So you're going to want to bring a couple different people from your innovation team, but they are going to be interested in the scientific program, those posters, what's happening in the startup pavilion, and then also looking around the expo floor to see what's new and to taste how different ingredients and different additives and flavors are being infused. And then, ideas come from everywhere, especially from each other. So that Braindate, which is kind of a peer-to-peer networking app, is a great way for those who are attending to connect with people that, could be their next staffer, could be their next boss, could be their next mentor. And so I think those are some of the ways that you can deploy a team, but it's almost endless. And, like Corinne said, there's a ton of opportunity to do some pre-work, which will make the event even more meaningful.
And we've got tons of parties. So if you don't want to do brain dates, but, you are up for a social event, we've got social events that are topical. So you could go to the food chemistry social event, or you could go to the food engineering social event. We also have social events that are around some of our resource groups. So we have a women's resource group.
Yeah, so our resource groups are the Women's Resource Group and the African, African American, and Black Resource Group. We'll also have a social gathering for the LGBTQ group that we bring together every year for our IFT annual event.
And that's actually a new social event. It's called a social hopper. It's taking place at our headquarters hotel, the Hyatt Regency Chicago, on Monday night. It's going to be really fun. You can purchase one ticket and you can go to any of those social events we just talked about for the price of one ticket. And there are a lot of fun things taking place there. We are also interjecting a lot of fun things into the meeting this year. So stay tuned. We have a lot of surprises planned. We just don't want to tell you what those are.
Melody loves to call them surprise and delight. And we don't even know as staff what she has planned, but I'm sure that it will be awesome. There's also an opportunity to add on local technical field trips. These are organized by our Chicago section from IFT. This should be really fantastic. So great social opportunities with that social hopper pass, great opportunities to take technical field trips just in case you want to do more than just attend the show. That will be July 11th through the 13th.
We're just looking forward to everyone experiencing everything IFT First has to offer in Chicago in July. See you all very soon.
Special thanks to Melody Anderson, Kareen Khalees, and Mandy Zaransky-Hurst for joining me on this podcast, for participating in the podcast panel, and to the IFT for inviting me to host this special feature. Make sure you get your tickets. Visit iftevent.org and register today. And see you at the conference.